quote you what you've said previously, Martin Sorrell,
Very dangerous.
about starting.
Consistency is the whole problem of small minds.
About starting up. So you said if you start something, it's near as a man can come to mentally having a baby. When you start something, you start an idea, you start a company. It's something that you live and breathe. What has been the hardest part of building WPP?
There hasn't really been a hard part in the sense.
Well, in all of these years since 1986, there hasn't been a hard part.
The hardest part was in early 90s when I over-leveraged the company going into the 91-2 recession. That was probably the toughest part. But, you know, starting a company, building a company, is basically an enjoyable experience. I mean, every day has its frustrations. You know, the worst part is probably, you know, when I say go left, everybody else goes right. I'm going to write a book one day called The Powerless CEO, because I don't think CEOs have any power at all. Are you laughing? But it's true. And so I figured out if I want them to go right, I say go left and they go right.
Shruti, you know, do you feel as powerless as Sir Martin Sorrell?
You know, I think there is a power of 7. You have to say it 7 times to have it your way. And I've started practicing it, so I just make sure it's done 7 times in 7 different tones. But I think Martin is right. You know, from cajoling, coaxing, carroting, giving Hindi movie analogies, I've done that too.
But I do think, I mean, the ingenuity that you come across about people trying to defeat corporate purpose. I see it with clients. I see it with ourselves. It's unbelievable. I mean, if we applied half of that ingenuity to the success of our business, we would be soaring into the
stratosphere. I agree. And let me ask you this, Kevin. And I point out some of the issues that Sir Martin has raised as being concerns why you're building a business. Of course, in the present context, the fact that information is easily accessible to everybody and for everybody. So it's how do you use the information that you talk about, which is going to really decide the future of companies going forward. The war for talent is another red flag that you've raised as far as building profitable businesses. The relentless attempt at cost reduction is, of course, your key mantra. That is your key mantra. What are the key mantras that you're looking at this point in time as you build Hike?
The 2 mantras for us have been move extremely fast and think very big. And also, I think number 3 would be, can you find the right set of people who align to your vision, and then life becomes very easy.
Do you think good people are more difficult to manage than bad people?
What's your definition of good or bad?
You know, people who are good and got a successful track records always find it very difficult to take advice, if I can put it that way, or be nudged because they're always right, because they've been successful. So good people are inherently much more difficult to manage.
But I think the best people are very open-minded.
Clients now, rather than say they want, you know, J. Walter Thompson or Ogilvy or Y&R or Gray or Group M or Mindshare, whatever it happens to be, clients will say, I want the best people working on my business, and I don't care where they come from. So you've got to get the best people in the right place at the right time to solve the issues.
Yeah, but Abhay, you know, taking that point forward, since we're talking about people and talent, what has been the big challenge as you've tried to scale?
So the biggest challenge is being able to identify intellectual arrogant jerks.
How many intellectually arrogant jerks have you identified during the course of building InMobi?
All I'm going to say is that 3 out of 10 hiring decisions are always wrong.
Really?
But you always know pretty quickly if it is
exactly.
as well.
So one of the other things that happens very quickly is that you stop relying on your gut as you continue to become bigger. You start to rationalize things, and then, you know, 6 months down the line you tell yourself, look, I had this feeling 2 months ago. I should have made this decision at that time. So that whole thing, as you grow, how do you preserve that little voice in your heart that is telling you whether you're, because entrepreneurship is about that little voice in your heart as you become larger.
What about these investors that you have in your company? Now, you all have investors in the company. We have institutional investors, not VCs or whatever. I mean, how important are they? I mean, how important is SoftBank or Kleiner Perkins or
so SoftBank is,
Tiger?
I mean, these guys are very important. I mean, they provide us the capital to
most expensive sources of capital.
Exactly. So they I don't know what expensive or not. Given how it is
more expensive the commercial bank.
Given how it is getting invested.
Yeah, but the commercial bank is not going to put the money on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then the point is, I think the best investors are the one which kind of put in the money and then take a slight back seat.
Yeah.
Because there are enough breed of investors in the country today, and especially after the last 2.5 years, who actually try and run the company. And then you are in a situation where your passion and wisdom of somebody who's invested, I think the interest gets conflicted.
So since we're talking about investors, and there's this big debate on in India at this point in time on valuations when it comes to startups, and
There's no debate, they're just too high.